Hi guys, welcome back, welcome to another video. I hope you've all been blessed and I hope you're all having a great week with Jesus. So today I'm going to be speaking about the dangers of New Age meditation, Eastern meditation, and I'm also going to be talking about this book. It's called Authentic Awakening by Alan Strudwick. If you've just come out of the New Age deception, this is a really important book. I came from the New Age deception and I basically was deceived by spiritual enlightenment. And this all started because I started meditating one day when I was in my early 20s. A demon entered my body whilst I was in a meditation, and then 5 years later it deceived me and I had what I thought was a spiritual awakening, and I received these doctrines of demons from Hinduism and things before I had even read any of the books. So I was basically receiving information from a demon that had entered me during a meditation. I was a Reiki healer, Palawa healer, I went to yoga school, and I thought that everyone else needed to meditate basically in order to have the same experience that I had had, because I thought that was the answer to everything. I thought meditation was the answer to everything, to every single problem. Towards the end of my kind of deception, before I got saved by Jesus Christ, the Son of God, I was being led by this spirit that I thought was God / myself. I was being led to go and live in a cave and just sit there in meditation basically. So I don't know what would have happened there. Maybe I would have died. Fortunately, praise God, it didn't get that far because I was saved. I was radically saved by Jesus Christ and he revealed himself to me. So I'm not from a Christian family, and in fact there was no talk about God or even any religion or anything spiritual in my household. So I didn't grow up with any of this. I always knew that the spiritual realm was real because I had experiences, even as a child, with the spiritual realm. So I knew that there was something out there. I played Ouija boards when I was a teenager and I spoke to demons on the Ouija board. I didn't know they were demons at that time, obviously. I just thought that I was speaking to my dead granddad. My cousin, she always had a lot of paranormal activity in her house, and we thought it was an old man. We thought it was a dead, like a ghost. And he would always try to scare the child, the 2-year-old child. It wasn't just him that saw this old man, it was my cousin, it was her husband, so a lot of people saw it. And they ended up moving house, and then it followed her, and she just thought, oh, I've moved into another haunted house. But it had actually just followed her because they were doing occult practices. I didn't know this at the time, but they were, and still are, into spiritualism. So they go to a church, they think that they are Christians, but there's a medium there, and they contact demons through a medium, and they think that they're speaking to my dead relatives. So that's why they have a lot of this demonic activity. What I'm trying to get at is I knew that the spiritual realm was real, but I didn't know what these things were. I just thought they were ghosts, dead people. Anyway, so back to the meditation stuff. I was at uni, I moved to London, I went to uni, and during that time I got involved in manifestation because somebody introduced me to the book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and I realized that manifestation worked. I was able to think of something in my mind and then it would just, the same day or the next day or something, it would happen. So I believed that the law of attraction was real. It does actually work, but it's just witchcraft, so that's why it works. It's not God, it's not the universe that's giving you these things, it's demons. And you will end up just manifesting demons into your life. and becoming a narcissist, because manifestation, it feeds off of your sinful fleshly desires. So you end up just pursuing your fleshly desires. I ended up getting into meditation because of the manifestation, because I thought that my thoughts were creating my reality. I didn't know where meditation came from, like what religion or anything like that. I just literally went onto Google and watched a video, and in the video it told me to sit down on the floor in the lotus position and just empty my mind. And I was just sat on my bedroom floor at uni. The first strange thing that happened was my body started to move around in a circle like this, and I was a bit scared by that, so I looked on Google again, Dr. Google, and I said, why is my body moving around during meditation? And it said, oh, that's just energy, that's just the energy, that's fine. And so I just thought, okay. So I carried on doing it, and basically after a few weeks I was just leaving my body. I was going into these trances. It just felt like I was in a trance because I didn't know I was there. And sometimes I was gone for hours, just sat on my floor meditating for hours. By the time I came out of the trance, I would sometimes look at my watch and I would be shocked because I had been gone for hours, like 8 hours or something, like sometimes. And I was just like, wow, what, where have I been? But I felt amazing. I had a lot of peace, a lot of euphoria. I always just felt really good afterwards. So I became really addicted to it really quickly. And I stopped going into uni so that I could meditate all day. And this went on for quite a long time. I don't know how long. It could have been 6 months. I honestly just don't have any idea really how long I was actually doing that for. And then one day, something entered my body whilst I was in the meditation. It felt like a large ball of fire, about this big. And it kind of just shot through the floor and up into my head. And when it got into my head, it exploded. And it all happened really quickly. It was just like... And I was shocked. I literally just jolted out of the trance and was like, what have I done? And I knew that I'd done something really bad, but I didn't know what. At the time I thought that a spirit had entered my body, but because I didn't know what was out there in the spiritual realm, I thought it was a ghost. So I thought that a ghost had entered my body. It's just so ridiculous now that I think of it. It's just ridiculous if you think about it. But I was really terrified after that. I was really, really terrified, and I said, I'm never meditating again. And I don't know what I've done, but I'm just not doing that anymore. And I kind of used to just bury my head in the sand. Like if I had any problems or anything like that, I would kind of choose the ignorance is bliss kind of route out of it. So instead of, thinking about what it was or trying to figure it out or doing any research, I just completely just ignored it and went back to my party lifestyle, going to raves and festivals and things like that. That was my lifestyle at the time before I started getting into meditation. And so the meditation for me, it was very addictive because it almost felt like it was my new drug. I was getting the same kind of effects from it as I would from drugs and stuff like that. So I just kind of thought, this is my new high. But as soon as that happened, I went back to the drugs and alcohol and the raves. But it wasn't all over. So 5 years later, I was on the other side of the world. I had gone to Australia to travel and things like that. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing with my life. And it was there that I had this really crazy awakening. That's what I thought it was at the time. I thought that I was having a spiritual awakening, and I thought that I was enlightened. Like after that, I thought that that's what had happened. Basically, it's a long story, and I've made other videos about this, but what happened was I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard a voice coming from within my dream, and it told me to go for a walk. So I went for a walk. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I climbed up some rocks and sat on the top of a cliff overlooking the sea because I was living at the beach. I watched the sunrise and all of that, and then when I went to go back home, I turned around and everything just looked completely different. It was like this veil had collapsed or something, and I was seeing into the spiritual realm. I was also receiving downloads into my spirit, and the demon was telling me, the demon that had entered me during the meditation 5 years before, it was telling me that I was God. It was telling me that the demon inside of me that I was able to see, it was telling me that that was God and that that was the real me, and that the person I thought that I was an illusion which was created by my thoughts, which was creating a false self. And I was basically being told that I was waking up from this illusion, and that I was kind of, just remembering that I was actually God, and that everything was an illusion. This demon was telling me basically in my spirit that everything was consciousness, and that separateness was an illusion created by the mind, created by this false self, which is not actually a false self. So the demon is what is creating this demonic deception of spiritual enlightenment. Spiritual enlightenment is a lie. So from that moment on, I was able to kind of just go into this ultimate reality whenever I wanted to, just through like an open eye meditation where I could see into the spiritual realm. And I was still receiving downloads from this demon for the next 4.5 years. It showed me things in the spirit realm, like a big grid made of geometry, and it also gave me a lot of secret knowledge. And I started to think that Jesus was teaching Christ consciousness, and I thought that the Bible was symbolic because I got into Neville Goddard's books as well. So I started to read the Bible for the first time in the New Age way. Like, I was cherry picking, I was reading into the Bible and seeing things that weren't actually there, because I was trying to make it match up with my experience, because I thought I had the truth. I thought that the Christians were not spiritually awakened. I ended up channeling a demonic book teaching Christ consciousness, which actually had things in it about the Trinity. It was basically a book about how the world is actually a hologram and how we are actually God. So it was really demonic. These New Age channeled books, they're all coming from demons. It had in it things about the Trinity, and it was like the real meaning of the Trinity and what it actually means in relation to this hologram. When you meditate, you are actually opening a door, a portal to the spiritual realm. It's illegal entry to the spiritual realm because you're going in through the back door. So you are on the enemy's turf, which means that you are not protected. You're just going to get demons, and they are going to deceive you and give you mental health problems and stuff like that as well. So I just want to quickly talk about something. Alan Strudwick was a New Age leader. He began seeking enlightenment at age 11. So it was his father basically that led him into the New Age stuff, specifically Hinduism, and also into business because his dad was a businessman. He then went on to train in almost 40 occult practices, from things like yoga, meditation, and Reiki to levitation, channeling, and hypnosis. Each year, he was taken through an initiation ritual to invoke a new Hindu god, aka demon, into his being by chanting their specific names, which is what I used to do. So, doctrines of demons taught by this cruel false religion are that the soul has many lifetimes, and this is called reincarnation. It's supposed to continue until a soul reaches nirvana by clearing their supposed karma, which they don't even have. The Upanishads teach that only men are able to release their karma. But obviously they had to omit that part of the teachings so that the Western world would more readily receive the teachings. And they do that with things like Reiki as well. They often lie or omit things from the teachings so that the West will receive the teachings. They did that with Reiki. They basically made out he was a Christian. They basically made out that Usui Maka was a Christian so that people would receive Reiki, which is witchcraft. So Hinduism, it's a demonic religion that teaches that we are God when we're not. And the practices that they tell you to do, like yoga, they open you up to demons so that you can yoke yourself with Hindu gods, which are actually demons. So you invite in demons into your body through doing these Hindu mantras and meditation. So his guru believed that they could market Hinduism to the West by targeting the business world, and their plan was ultimately to infiltrate Western society within a 30-year period. So with a yoga studio on almost every major high street corner, and Hindu occult practices such as yoga and Eastern meditation being promoted in schools, medical centers, and hospitals, I think they achieved that goal. So after attending his courses, many participants reported unusual and disturbing events. So people were acting strange, they were leaving their jobs, walking out on their marriages and children, having psychotic episodes, and even committing suicide. One man set himself on fire after attending one of their courses in which they learned these occult practices like meditation and yoga. So this is demonic activity. Meditation, yoga, and all of these occult practices, they open you up to demons. And if you do a quick Google search, you will find many people have committed suicide after attending a Vipassana retreat. So if you don't know what that is, it's normally 10 days and people just go there to meditate all day, every day. But after these retreats, people commit suicide and they blame it on psychosis or something like that. It's just demonic activity. And these demons do actually cause people to go into psychosis in the first place. I wanted to do a Vipassana retreat when I was in my New Age days, and I applied for a few Vipassana retreats, but the waiting list was very long and I wasn't able to get in, I wasn't able to go. And so God actually protected me there, because I do think that I would have just gone insane, to be honest, because I was able to meditate my way into an acid trip, and I had a lot of strange experiences whilst I was meditating. One day I stayed up meditating all night, and when I went outside I was able to see through objects. So Alan was deeply troubled by the reports that were coming in from people that have attended his courses, and so he was very, very worried. So he took it to his guru, who owned the organization, and he basically just turned around to him and said, some people on the planet are not evolved enough to handle the energy and spiritual practices that we are creating. Wow. And that's pretty much what you hear today, isn't it? Like when people have Kundalini awakenings and things like that, which is what I had, which almost sent me insane. And I had that demon cast out of me by listening to a Christian deliverance prayer. So that's how I know that that's a demon, because if it was divine, then it wouldn't have been driven out of my body in the name of Jesus Christ. So that's how I know that the Kundalini is a demon, and nobody can tell me otherwise. It's the only logical explanation of why that Kundalini spirit left my body when I listened to that prayer. But obviously people in this deception, they don't believe in demons. They teach that evil is an illusion and that demons don't exist. So when you have a Kundalini awakening and get demon possessed, you know that you don't believe it's a demon because they say demons don't exist. But that's what you hear people saying today when people are getting demon possessed and having these Kundalini, so-called Kundalini awakenings. The teachers and things like that will say, you just can't handle the energy of these practices. You're not spiritually evolved enough. You just need to do some more clearing. You need to go through some more purging and, work on your shadow, and, it's just your fault. But actually, you're just demon possessed and you need that casting out. So like most people in this deception, Alan had been taught by his guru that evil was an illusion. He was seeing the cracks in the deception. So although Alan had never read a Bible, he ended up having a powerful vision. And in the vision, he saw Jesus. He thought that maybe he was going to help lead Christians to spiritual enlightenment. He still thought that Christians were the least evolved people on the planet because that's what his guru had told him. And that's what New Age people believe. They believe that Christians are not awakened to the truth. And that's how I saw Christians as well before I became one. I actually thought that Christians were just, not spiritually awakened and that they needed to meditate. He accepted Jesus into his life, and immediately he was hit with a power which was more intense than anything. And that's what happened to me as well when I received Jesus. I was lying on my bed, I was crying, and I was suddenly hit with this really, 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 really strong, powerful, electric, liquid light. My whole body was immersed in it. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, wow. I knew it was the Holy Spirit, but I didn't know anything about Christianity, so I don't know if that was the baptism or not. I think it was, but the baptism of the Holy Spirit. He decided to tell his guru that he'd found a better path than enlightenment, and that Jesus was the way. A demon actually manifested in his guru, so he lost all of his friends, he lost his job, he ended up living in his car because he just lost everything. He lost his apartment, which was basically what happened to me. Like after I accepted Jesus, I lost everything, but I didn't really have anything anyway, but I ended up homeless and things like that. So it's just funny how God sometimes does that, and it's so that you can just literally just start all over. And it's almost like, he pulls the rug and he's like, your entire life has been a lie, let's just get rid of it. And so you just end up starting again sometimes, and that's what happened to me. He exposes the deception in this book as well. I'd say that half of it is just exposing the New Age deception, Hinduism, yoga, all of these Hindu deities and stuff. He kind of links it all up with the gods in the Old Testament and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really powerful book. And just on the topic of powerful books, this one as well is really powerful. It's called Inside the New Age Nightmare. It's called The Death of a Guru. And then, this one as well. Brahman Reborn. Meditation was what led me into the occult. It was the doorway that led me into the false light deception of the New Age, spiritual enlightenment and all of that. Because at the root of all of that, it's the lie that we are God when we're not. And it's the same lie that was in the Garden of Eden that the serpent told Adam and Eve in Genesis 3:5. And that's what these practices hope to do. They hope to help you to access hidden secret knowledge so that you can attain godhood. So it's just the same lie that the serpent told Adam and Eve in the garden, and that's the root of the occult, of all of the occult practices. And it's all about getting powers, like getting spiritual powers, siddhis and stuff like that. When I had this demon, I had these yogic powers. So I did believe that evil was an illusion. I thought that, if everyone just meditated, then it would raise the collective consciousness, things like that. So I was in this deception where I believed everything was just one. There was only really one person here, but it seemed like there were billions of people here because people were under this so-called illusion of Maya, which is another lie from Hinduism. These teachings are literally coming from demons, guys. So meditation is very dangerous. It's very, very evil. You will get led into the New Age deception, and that's just to lead you away from having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. If you die without Jesus Christ, you go to hell. You go to eternal hell in the lake of fire. I really wish that someone had have warned me before I got involved in all of that, but I guess people just don't know about it. So, and Satan is the god of this world. So that's why when you go to the doctors or something, they will often prescribe yoga or meditation. Say if you've got like anxiety or you've got like a back problem, they will often prescribe you occult practices from Hinduism. And yoga is the whole point of it is to yoke you with a god, which is actually a demon that the Hindus call Brahman. So that's the whole point of yoga. So if you're going to your GP with a bad back and they're telling you to yoke yourself with this god called Brahman by doing an occult practice from Hinduism, like, why is that? Why is it that you never see a Muslim going to the doctors with anxiety and the doctor's saying, okay, here's a Bible, pray to Jesus? That would never happen. So why is it that Christians are going to the doctors and being told to yoke themselves with Hindu gods? Because it's marketed as only stretching. They don't want you to know what it is. They don't want you to know what yoga actually is all about. So that's why they don't tell you. And it's because Satan is the god of this world. So everything is upside down, everything's inverted. Good is evil, evil is good. Christians are unawakened and evil and judgmental. Christianity is boring, oppressive. So it's such a deception, guys, because when you're a Christian, you don't need anything else. When you've got Jesus, like, that's all we've ever wanted anyway, but we've just been deceived. We've been deceived into thinking that we need enlightenment and stuff like that, but it doesn't even exist. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and it says, all things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. So Jesus is the Word made flesh. Why would anyone not want a relationship with the one who has created them? We've just all been deceived, guys. We've all been deceived. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you've been blessed by this video. And if you've just realized that you have been deceived, then give your life to Jesus. It says, whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So we're saved by grace through faith, and He will help you get out of this. Just get yourself a Bible, start reading the Bible, start praying, and just finding out more about who created you, and get rid of all of your New Age occult stuff, because you're just attracting demons into your life. So get rid of it all, burn it, destroy it, break it, whatever it is, just so that no one else can get their hands on it. Your life is not going to be easy with Jesus. It might be a bit difficult sometimes, but it's going to be fulfilling, and it's going to be the only thing that you've ever wanted. Okay, God bless. Bye.